Hello, I'm with Catherine from Sylvaine. First of all, many thanks for according me this interview. My first question will be, what do you expect for tonight's show?
That's a good question. We've been waiting many years actually to be playing Hellfest. It's been a dream for many years, something we've been talking about, especially with having two French people in my band. We all kind of know how big it is to play Hellfest, and to be able to get such a nice slot on a nice day is not a given for a band our size, so we're extremely excited, and we're expecting to have a really good time. I would like for people during our show to be able to kind of have a little journey with us, away from here for little moments, and just kind of travel a bit and forget about the everyday life, and just share a nice experience all together.
And your EP, I'm sorry for the pronunciation, Egg Air Framland.
Yes, that's good. Very good. Good job.
Thank you. Was released this March. How were the feedbacks from your public?
It was actually a project that I was a little bit, I was a bit apprehensive to receive the feedback, because I didn't really know how people would receive it, because it was so different from, in one way, so different from what I'm usually doing, but at the same time, it's still linked to what I'm usually doing. So the feedbacks have been actually really positive. People were very touched by it, even if very few understood a single word on the EP. It seems that the melodies and the musical quality has been able to make people feel regardless of the language, which has been amazing. So it's been really cool, actually. Nice feedback. So now I'm just trying to get the next record going, and hopefully it'll be a bit heavier again at that point.
And what was the writing process of this album? And this album contain a red line?
I mean, yes. I think it's in the way. Basically, the meaning behind the record is very much a continuation after my fourth album, Nova, so it kind of makes sense in the theme. And the red line through the EP is probably realizing, it's always so weird to speak about this concept. That's why I make music about it, to not have to talk about it. Yeah. But then I always have to explain. But to make it short and sweet, to basically realize that we're not beings from this place, we belong somewhere else. Let's say that the soul is who we actually are, our essence, and the body we have is just kind of a vehicle to let us experience this life. And the previous records have very much been related to the difficulties of this and the struggle I feel personally, and the disconnect from the human world because of this origin that I think we all have. Whereas Nova was kind of the death of something, like really getting to the height of frustration of this and not being able to control life, basically just being ever-changing and ephemeral. And then the EP, Ega Framan, came in and kind of went like, yes, it's true that we're disconnected, but at the same time, life is a gift, and it's very much like every ending is also a new beginning. And I kind of went more to the light side, even if there's a strong sense of melancholy in it. So yeah, the writing process was very organic. It was a part of this EP. I wanted to keep it very organic. So when I was recording, no click tracks, no tempos, no like a million takes of everything. It was quite like one take, one shot kind of stuff. And the writing process was quite quick, actually. It was very intuitive, very spontaneous, and just kind of having this like flow of consciousness and letting things come through you, like letting the art speak through you, I guess. So yeah, it was a nice process for once.
And are you currently working on a long play album?
I absolutely am. I have some tracks ready for this next record already, but they're so different that I have no idea what the record will sound like. Okay. So I'm working on it, but it's been quite a hectic year actually so far. I wasn't expecting it to be as hectic, but I know that now during summer, when things kind of calm down a bit for us, it will be a good moment to continue working on the record, and hopefully next year or something, it will see the light of day.
Okay. Your lyrics are mainly based on sorrow and spirituality. Are those lyrics mainly inspired from your own experiences?
Absolutely, yeah. Sylvaine is very much a catharsis project, very much an audio diary, so to speak. And as I told you this quickly about this kind of spiritual severance, if you call it, like this is very much a pillar in in the center of Sylvaine and what the lyrics speak about, and it's very much also just like pictures of who I am and what I'm dealing with at the moment when the records are being made. So very much a personal project, yeah.
So do you see music as a personal expression of freedom?
Absolutely, yeah. It can be, anyways. It should be, I guess, also to make it authentic. It should be a personal expression without any limitations. So yes, I suppose.
And your lyrics are based on your Norwegian heritage too. Can you tell me more about that in your lyrical writing process?
Absolutely. For this EP, it was a bit specific because there's several songs that are actually covers, so to speak, of old traditional folk music pieces. So they've been recorded by several artists before me, but I wanted to make my own interpretation of them. And then I wanted to make, so half the record is that, and half the record is my own songs playing like homage to my Norwegian folk music roots, or like tradition of the country where I grew up. And basically, Norwegian as a language, like when I'm writing in Norwegian, is kind of funny because it feels more personal than English, which is weird because English is my mother tongue, because I'm half American and I was born in America. But I grew up in Norway, and it's just something about Norway, in Norwegian language being very, it's really personal. So I think also that made Eg er Framand feel like a more intense personal record for me in a way, and also very intimate and kind of naked, because I wasn't hiding behind some other structures that I have been, not hiding behind, but it was very, very honest, very raw, very open. So, I think the Norwegian, like my heritage, definitely colored this EP. That it was basically the wish to make some kind of homage to that, because I think the folk music is beautiful, basically, and touching. So,
I heard from internet that you lived in France. So is the French life impact your lyrics?
It actually did, yeah. When I was living in Paris back in the day, I moved back to Norway during COVID, like right before COVID really shut down the whole world. Basically, I moved back. So, it did actually. Like my second album, my third album was very much affected by my life living in Paris, and the kind of disconnect and loneliness I felt being someone that's not fluent in the language and someone that's not a part of all the pop culture and stuff. Like when you grow up in a place, you just have a thing that everyone knows about, and I wasn't in that. And the language barrier was quite big. So definitely that affected it. So maybe not French culture, so to speak, but like how I felt dealing with French society definitely affected it. But it would have been the same in any other country where I was kind of in the same situation. I don't know, but I do know that like listening to especially my second album, Wistful, I'm like, that's the lonely soul that moved to Paris and didn't know French and was like all alone. So not to make myself a victim at all, but just like I can see it like when I listen to the lyrics and I see the songs and everything. I'm like, that makes sense. Okay. So yeah.
And your music is based on post-rock, shoegaze, and black metal sonorities. How do you link these sonorities with your lyrics?
Well, I think the music, I never really intended for it to sound any specific way. It just kind of comes out in the way that it comes out, and I was always fascinated by like opposing forces and duality in the sound of music. So I feel like the way the music sounds doesn't really dictate. Well, no, of course it dictates the lyrics, because obviously the music is trying to channel the emotions, and then I have to do the lyrics after, because usually the music comes first and then the lyrics comes after. So I guess they kind of coexist and they kind of feed each other. But basically, it wasn't. I've never thought of Sylvaine as a project of like it's a black metal project. Definitely not. Or it's like it's a shoegaze project, and it lives in between many different things, and I let other people decide what they want to call it. So the lyrics are just again very kind of personal based. They're not trying to reach any specific kind of genre or audience, I think.
Your father, Stefan, participate and play drums on few of your albums. Could you speak about the familial link in your musical project?
Well, I mean, I don't think I would be sitting here about to play Hellfest if it wouldn't be for my parents, because my parents are literally the best human beings I know. and they've been always super supportive in what I do. My mom, she worked on the business side, so she was like working in record labels. She was like a booking agent. She was arranging festivals. She was doing stuff like this. And my dad was a touring musician, so he's a drummer, as you guessed. So they met actually in Oslo because my dad was on tour and my mom was working where he was playing. So, I mean, my whole life has been based around music. If it wasn't for music, my parents wouldn't have met and I wouldn't even exist. So, definitely, it's been a huge part of me getting into music and like being able to explore it because they've been very supportive. And they haven't colored in the sense, like they haven't like colored my sound or anything because they were listening to other things than I would have listened to. I got into like melodic rock and stuff like that, and from there it kind of got harder and harder. And that led me into things like, you know, goth rock and down into metal later. That then developed my sound a bit more. So maybe it didn't directly affect my sound, but it definitely affected my life in the sense that I've been free to explore music, which I'm not sure everyone else can say the same. So I can thank my parents for all of this, basically.
And you have worked with Alceste, Neige, Moll and Captain Brit. How were those collaborations?
They were great. It's always fun to do collaborations with other artists because it pushes you outside of your comfort zone. It was always also a little bit scary because you're given someone's like soul material and you're like, okay, now you have to add something to this and make sure that it's right, emotionally speaking, and worthy. So I'm always like very, what can I say? I take it very, very seriously, and I've turned down so many guest things because I didn't have enough time. So I don't think it's fair if you don't devote the time that the people put into making the music. So it's been really great. Like, it was really easy collaborating with Neige because we are very much on the same page. Like, we have so much in common just as human beings. So it was very easy to do this, and it was really cool because Alceste obviously was a band I really liked back like some years ago. And Carpenter Brut was super fun because that was really not what I was expecting. So when Frank wrote me and he was like, "Can you do vocals for this?" I was like, "Are you sure? Like, do you have the right person?" And actually, I loved the track in the end. And it's funny because making this track inspired me for tracks I made for Nova. And without it, I don't think it would have been the same on Nova. So yeah, guest collaborations are really fun actually, and they're really cool, especially when they're a bit outside of, like with Captain Brit, a bit outside of what you usually do, because it takes you to places you didn't know you could go, and you're like, oh wow, now I've had this new unlocked level, you know. So it's really cool. Yeah.
And you have also worked on vocals in the album Corrosion of Arts of the DSPM band Oster. Do you feel close to DSPM scene?
Not really. No, not really. I can't say that I do. It's no. I guess that's probably the answer. Not really.
And I didn't see anyone mention this on internet, but before Sylvaine, did you play in other bands or other projects?
I did, but nothing that really kind of made any kind of attention for itself. So this is probably why it's not mentioned, because I did play in other groups, but I think we barely played shows. But yeah, I was in several other like bands. I did like vocal groups. I had choirs and like duos. Like I did a lot of stuff, but nothing that ever did anything really. So Sylvaine is the first proper project I have.
In which music genres? Other things than metal?
All genres.
All genres.
I'm very open when it comes to music, so it was like everything from complete like singer-songwriter to classical stuff to metal to rock, more pop stuff, funk also, actually R&B, like old R&B. So yeah, it's been a bit of everything actually.
So thank you for the interview. Can you tell me your last word for all listeners and your fans?
Yes, thank you so much for watching this interview. It's been lovely. I hope that you are staying cooler than we are here at Hellfest, where we're burning. But we're really, really excited to play tonight, and really grateful that we can play tonight. So thank you so much for having me, and take good care. Have a nice summer.